Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our webinar today on Industry 4.0 and Digital Transformation, a Path to Profitability. I'd like to remind you, if you have any questions during the webinar, please post them in the question section on your control panel, and we will answer them as they come in or at the end of the webinar, depending on the conversation at the time. I'd like to introduce our presenter today. It's Chanda Shaker, PhD, PMP, is a forward-thinking leader, strategist, and innovator with a history of driving process, system, and product improvements that streamline operations and increase profitability on a global scale. His background in business and technology leadership and deep knowledge and advanced training in engineering management have provided him with a unique talent, the ability to transform organizations and influence company and product positioning worldwide for over 15 years. Shaker comes to us from CMTC, that's the California Manufacturing Technology Consultants, and he'll talk more about that company towards the end of the webinar, but at this point, I would like to turn it over to Shaker. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Adria. Welcome. Please feel free to chip in with questions, and I will make sure, or we will make sure, that we try to answer them. Any questions that are not answered, I will make sure I'll get back to you and we can have a conversation. So before we get onto slide one, I wanted to share a little bit about my conversations and my privilege to talk to several COOs, CEOs, senior engineers, and designers. And I have asked them a fundamental question, and the question is, how do you paint a picture of your business if you want to leverage technology? And everybody has given me different answers. And when I try to piece together these answers, a very clear image occurs. And that is, I like to sit on the beach with a phone and a laptop and control my business. And my business has to be productive, it has to be efficient, and it has to be effective. That's kind of the image that you start to create. Is that a reality? Perhaps. I don't know. Time will tell. But in order to get to that desired state from where we are today, is that a straight line journey? I will guarantee you it's not. You're going to have some ups, you're going to have some downs. But those ups and downs are opportunities for us to learn. It can be a circuitous route. It can be a hilly climb, it can be a downhill, but all those lessons learned will enable you to get to the end state. How is that possible? That's possible because you capture something so useful in the lessons learned and in your path forward, and that's called data, and we will get to that in a minute. To place the context of this transformation along the journey of what we have accomplished as human beings, every revolution has a very unique characteristic associated with it. The very first industrial revolution took place in the 1700s, where you had the steam power engines that transformed the way we did business. That then morphed itself into an assembly line production where there was a greater demand to produce parts that all looked like the Ford Model T. Gradually, as technology changed, and with the inset of PCs and automation, all of a sudden you had robots helping you do your business. You had computers that helped you manage pieces of your business. But with the price points of technology dropping at a very precipitous rate, we are now in the age of what we call cyber physical systems. And cyber physical systems is what's going to transform how we work and do business. You are probably wondering how this applies to me in the woodworking and furnishing business. And I will get to that in a minute. In order to describe that change that's happening, whether it's in the woodworking industry or the metal machining industry or, for example, a marketing business, let's look at this image for a minute. In 1900, when you look at a picture of Manhattan on the left-hand side of your screen, you will notice one automobile, and everything else is horse-drawn carriages. 10 years later, you see one horse-drawn carriage. That means in that 10-year period, a significant transformation took place in terms of transportation. That's what's happening today. But people are not waiting 10 years for that transformation. Things are changing at a much faster pace. Yesterday, it was all about the internet. Today, it's all about the Internet of Things. What's the difference? Yesterday, it was about humans engaging with the laptop. Today, there are smart devices. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised one day when, as you leave your home, your refrigerator talks to you and says, I need milk, and you're going to go buy milk. That's how smart devices are becoming. And so today, you have what's called the Internet of Things. And tomorrow, those Internet of Things is going to morph itself into what I'm going to call the Internet of Services and Internet of Value, because you leverage the network of products to deliver a customer experience that's unrivaled as we go forward. And it's all about customer experience at the end of the day. Is this just theory of technology, or has it been leveraged? It has been leveraged, and I'll walk you through two examples, and I'll try to correlate with the space of woodworking as much as possible. And if I don't, please raise a question, and I'll be more than glad to do that. General Mills actually leveraged this concept because it was forced to in some sense. There was a big market demand for gluten-free products because people had celiac disease and they were not able to eat the cereals that were available in the marketplace. So General Mills took it upon them to say, I am going to produce a gluten-free product and deliver it to those customers. But in order to deliver a gluten-free product, you had to go all the way back to the source, which is farming. All the way from farming to sorting the grains, to shipping it to the right location, to processing that specific grain, then transforming it into cereal, packaging it, and in all this, making sure that it's all gluten-free. Very important, because even if one person eats cereal and gets contaminated because there is a contaminant in your cereal, that's not good. And General Mills took it upon them to make sure it never happens. And by the way, the initial thought was that we're going to lose money. The initial thought was, hey, we're going to add to what we are trying to do to serve a small segment of the marketplace. But during that transformation, what they learned was, how do I manage data so that I don't have to lose money? I don't have to invest a lot more than I have to, yet give the customer experience that the customer wants. What it resulted was $20 million in ingredient savings. Not a small number. It's a year over $20 million. So when I start to look at the net present value of that number, it's huge. And $1 million in energy savings. Because the transformation from a raw material to the finished goods requires a lot of energy. And those energy costs are pretty high. The same thing, in my opinion, holds true for the woodworking industry. Because just imagine all the way from selecting the forest, getting the lumber, trimming the lumber or milling the lumber, shaping it to the place you want, shipping it to the places where people need that lumber, transforming it to the end product is very similar to General Mills. It's not about gluten-free products, but it's about the notion of going from forest to your finished goods. In General Mills, it was from farmer to fork. It was not just in the cereal industry, but it also was applied by Harley Davidson to do something completely different. Because Harley Davidson is a very niche industry. It has a following of people. What they wanted to do then was to kind of develop a manufacturing plan that would be flexible enough to deliver the Harleys when people wanted it, but manage their cost, but most importantly, improve worker safety. They were able to achieve a 91% improvement in worker safety. Why? Because of education, because of data, because of the knowledge transfer. And they were also able to transform their production management to meet the demands of the customers. So having heard these examples, let's try to answer the question, what is Industry 4.0? At the core, Industry 4.0 is all about data and making data a key asset for your business. In other words, if I'm a business, I'll ask myself one fundamental question. How can I monetize data? Monetized data comes in two flavors. One, monetize data so that I can deliver the customer the best possible experience so I can increase my top line. Monetized data also means I can manage my operational or OPEX so that I can have the gross margins I want. That is what Industry 4.0 is all about. How do you do that? You do that by first of all, identifying the right data, placing that data with the right people at the right time to make the right decisions. For example, if a machinist has an idea of the state of that machinery, that machinist can do predictive maintenance so that you don't spend money on fixing if the machine breaks down. Or for example, if the CEO has the right data about the business, that CEO can make a strategic business decision on where to take that business going forward. That's what Industry 4.0 is all about. And can Industry 4.0 be applied today? Absolutely yes. The price points have come down to a place where the entire spectrum of industries could use them. A couple of examples. One, if you want to be able to monitor the condition of pumps and motors, there are opportunities to do a thermal imaging at price points that are affordable so that you can then use condition monitor and predictive maintenance to schedule those maintenance at times when your workload is low. That way you save money. Or for example, monitoring the temperature in compost piles, very important from a fire hazard perspective, especially in the Central Valley of California or in the farming industry in the Midwest. What they do is you actually measure by scanning where these temperature spots are, take preventive action, and you can actually count these as they go along. The same thing in the apparel industry, because one of the things in the apparel industry that's happening is that there is a demand for different types of apparels, and the customers expect it to be delivered ASAP, 24 hours, 48 hours. How do I then take that customer need and send it over to the manufacturing and logistics cycle so that there is a connectivity between what is being produced and what is being delivered to enhance the customer experience? Can be very easily done because of Industry 4.0. And what is that silver nugget? What is that piece of information I need to connect all this? It's all about data and information. So what are the elements in forming such a structure? There are a whole bunch of things, but I'll keep it really simple. One is mobile devices. A lot of people use the phone today. We use it on a daily basis to do GPS, to look at our banks. We make some decisions. The same thing is true in a business environment. Or there could be something where you don't have to have all of your computing taking place in the business. So they use cloud services today. So something sitting on the cloud, you then send information back and it comes back. Or smart sensors. And a great example of smart sensors is your hand. If you touch something hot, automatically you'll pull your hand off. Why? Because your skin acts as a smart sensor, sends a signal to your brain saying, hey, you're touching a hot object, pull your hand back. The same principle applies in machines. And because the sensing prices have dropped significantly, it's applicable today. So why are industrial companies have been early adopters? But it can be applied globally. Why? Because the cost of sensing is falling. Cloud computing can handle a lot of data that we need. And second is the notion of software as a service, software as a tool to help us grow the business is something that is becoming part of our DNA. Those three aspects taken together is what makes Industry 4.0 very, very applicable and useful and applicable right away today. So what's the impact of deploying Industry 4.0? In the near term, like I said, if you can monetize data, you can improve your operational efficiency. If you can monetize data, you can develop products and services that the customer wants when the customer wants. But in the long term, what you're really doing is you are helping improve the economy of your ecosystem. You're actually enabling a pull type of an economy where the customer is in control of what needs to be done, and you and the customer are actually doing the samba together in some sense. That's really what the impact of 4.0 is. But again, what is the key enabler to make all of this happen? It's the data and the ability to monetize data. All this is great, but is there a study that shows that what we are doing is beneficial based upon all the implementations that have taken place in a variety of industries? Capgemini actually undertook a big study to understand what the implication of using these technologies were. And they published a report in 2017. So it's 1 year old, but at least communicates the right message. For example, when we look at on-time delivery of products by businesses to their end customers, it has improved 13-fold because of implementation of Industry 4.0. And there are a whole bunch of reasons for that. One, I have the right data to make the right decision, so I know when to ship things. I have the right data because I can then work with DHL, I can work with, FedEx, or on the other hand, I can also work with my manufacturing shop to say I need this item at this time, and they can do the scheduling appropriately. Also, it improves, for example, quality, 12-fold increase in quality. And there are other metrics that you can look at. I don't want to read them, but there are a lot of key business metrics that have been positively impacted because of Industry 4.0. So the question is, it's all great in theory, it's all great in the metalworking industry, it's great in the apparel industry. Can it be used in the woodworking and furnishing world? For example, in Germany, where the whole notion of Industry 4.0 started, HOMAG has actually used Industry 4.0 very effectively in woodworking. And what they have done is they have, this just shows you an example, all the way from storage, shipping, cutting, shaping, engineering, design, all the way to packing. They have been able to help woodworking industry improve their throughput, improve their operational efficiency, improve their delivery. It's not just about the company HOMAG, but it's all about making sure that we understand your business, understand what are those data elements that's fundamentally important to you as a business, and delivering a solution that's applicable to you. That's what Industry 4.0 can do. And there are so many articles written that clearly show that Industry 4.0 will enable individual businesses on a much larger scale. And that scaling has to be thought through, nuanced, and applicable to what you as a business want to do. It's not a one-size-fits-all. And so developing a roadmap becomes important, and I'll come back to that later on. So a question that I always ask myself, and I'm sure you're thinking through this, is why apply Industry 4.0? The fundamental thing you need to think about is your industry in a state of growth or decline? Because how you apply Industry 4.0 completely changes. Because if there is a decline, you want to understand why there is a decline, and is it because of external conditions that you don't have control of, or is it because of what we do? If it's a growth industry, you want to jump on that train and just grow your business. A data point to consider as we define that journey is that the woodworking market share is more than 60% of the global furniture industry, and it has a market value of $400 billion today. And that number is only increasing. And as you start to think about the woodworking industry, one data point is when we think of the wood product manufacturing, it's a $7.7 billion revenue today with a profit of over 300 million. That's just one example. When you look at the boating industry, it has an annual growth rate of 1.8%. When you look at the wood milling part, it has a growth of 1.4%. So when you start to think about the top line and the growth, you are in a space where there is growth today, and that growth can be transformed as we really think about new business models. So the takeaway is you are at a very unique place where you can transform your business by actually jumping over some of the technologies that people have been using in the past. So that gives you, in some way, an early mover advantage. What are some triggers for growth? Two things come to my mind. One is in the notion of making unique cabinetry and housing materials. Very unique. And I'll show you an example of how Merritt has used it very effectively to grow their business. Second is the notion of boats, yachts, and marine docks. That is becoming very popular these days because the marine industry is choosing to use wood for a multiple set of reasons. One, because it ecologically makes sense. Second, you don't want to flood the ocean with plastics and kind of create all that debris there. And second, with wood treatment opportunities that are present, it also gives you a very polished look from an aesthetics perspective. There's a whole bunch of things coming together. And some market segments that really use wood is furniture, craft, building construction, and marine. All these market segments create an ecosystem that is pretty positive in this space. So now, if we, at a very global sense, know that there is a big revenue in the woodworking space and there is some growth, the question then becomes, how do we leverage Industry 4.0? The most important thing is for the entire supply chain, and I'll go back to the General Mills example, from farm to fork, or in the woodworking as I want to call it, it's from the forest to where you want to deliver your furniture or where you want to deliver your end product. That entire supply chain and the community that makes this product has got to be ready and flexible. What does ready and flexible really mean? It means that you need to have the right data at the right place in the hands of the right people to make the right decision. And Industry 4.0 is a great enabler because what it does is it starts to monitor everything from step zero, which is all the way from forestation in the case of woodworking, to transporting the lumber, to the milling, to order completion, to shipping, to stock levels, to customer experience. So it goes from customer to customer. So what are some of the business objectives as I have looked at some of the information? One thing comes loud and clear. The marketplace is very dynamic. People want things the way they want things. Every person wants it in a slightly different way. So that the ability to manufacture customized and flexible products is very important. The reliability of delivery is another important aspect because that's how customers become loyal. That means that the entire value chain has to be continually be enhanced. That's where Industry 4.0 comes in. Because Industry 4.0, leveraging the power of data, connects the front end, which is customer, all the way to the back end, which is fulfilling that demand, which is manufacturing. So the connected process along the value chain becomes your enabler for delivery. In addition, the execution system that people sometimes call ERP, or sometimes people call, material flow handling, or some people use the word barcodes, or some people use the word RFID, or a combination of thereof. That execution system becomes part of Industry 4.0. But what is that connected thing? And I'm going to harp on this over and over again. It is the data and information. Without data and information, all these machines and all these people just become points. But what flows through them is data. And what does that data do? It provides you a visibility of financial flow, it provides you a visibility of the material flow, and it also provides you a visibility of information flow. For example, if you come to work every day and you see a work list, you exactly know what you have to do. And if you are trained to do that, you become more effective and efficient. Absolutely fantastic. Because why? Because it allows you as a person who is the real asset of a company to grow, but also it allows the processes to evolve. That's the power of data and information. Like I said, let's look at how this power of data and information has been used in the woodworking industry. You're all probably familiar with Merritt. It's a company based in Mentor, Ohio, and has a facility in Lodi, California. What they do is they provide high-end woodwork and millwork, and their entire process has had to be transformed because there was a demand from customers that they wanted some custom work. They wanted Merritt to manage that entire process. They wanted to make sure they get what they get when they get in the quality that they want. So what Merritt did was they kind of looked at their marketplace and said they're going to focus, first of all, on the residential estate and super yachts. So they cannot be everything to everybody. So the first decision we need to make using the data is, who are we as a business? Who do we serve? How do we segment the marketplace? And what do we offer to that marketplace? So that's the first thing that Merritt did. Focused on residential estate and super yachts. What they then did was, once they did that, they then went back and looked at their processes, their businesses. They then created a visual marketing opportunity where everybody in their business had an idea of where things were, how to do things. They used Microsoft Project because they also had an idea of when to deliver what. They used AutoCAD because they knew how to design these parts in 3D so that that part can then be fed to the manufacturing facility that they can make that part. So they took all of these tools and integrated in a unified manner. Please, please, please note, it's not a proliferation of tools. It's not about the tools. The tools became an enabler for Merritt to deliver the products that they wanted to deliver for those two market segments, the yachts and the customized large estates. That's just one example. But what was the result of that for Merritt? Of two things. One, reshaping their marketplace and reshaping their business processes. They had a 10x growth in 10 years. And if you just look at their revenue, it was $5 million in 2001 and $50 million in 2017, and their forecast is only growth. So really, there are two parts to this. When you think of the data and what Merritt did, they took that data, first of all, to say, what are the markets I'm going to target, and what is it I'm not going to do? That's as important as what is it I'm going to do. And then reshaping their processes. So you might be thinking, it's great for Merritt, it's great for GM, it's great for, for Harley, but why, where, and how should I start this journey? Because this journey, please keep in mind, is not going to be a straight line. But that is where the opportunity comes in. Why? Because we always, and as a business, you want to start with, what are my business goals? What am I really trying to do here? Is it increase revenue? Is it grow market share? You might say, well, you know what? All I need to do is acquire new customers. I don't want to change anything else. Great, that's the goal. Or you might turn around and say, you know what? I have so many customers, but my cost structure is so high that my gross margins are so low that I have to manage my OPEX. Great, that's a great business goal. Or you might want to say, I want to retain the workforce. How can I leverage Industry 4.0 to retain workforce? Great question, because when workforce leaves, the cost of turnover increases. What can I do? All these are business goals. So once you anchor your discussions in these business goals, then what happens is you can start to align your market demand with your business capability, because that's what drives this alignment. So where should I start my transformation? In order to understand this, let's look at this visual for a minute. Either I am starting my business, where I'm a business, which I'm a new business, and I want to start this journey. What I want to do at that point in time is to start simple. I want to first of all know who my customers are and use the basic principles of lean and quality. For example, minimize waste. For example, simplify my process. For example, use everything in the 5S to sort, simplify, see, do everything that you want to do. Once you have folded in the basic, what I'm going to call the foundational principles of the business, you are at the start line for digital transformation because you have started to acquire customers, have started to build the infrastructure, and now you want to accomplish your business goals. If you want to do that, then you have to have two paths. One is continuing your business, keep your customers happy, enhance their experience, and then plan for your digital transformation. And that digital transformation starts with first building a roadmap to accomplishing your goals. Everything is driven by your goals. And I'm sure you as a business has an annual goal, a 2-year goal, a 3-year goal, whatever they are. Start with that and then create this roadmap. And I'll come to how to create the roadmap. What it does is it impacts your demand planning, it impacts your simulation, it impacts your bill of materials, it impacts how you manage your workflow, it impacts all of that, the core of data. And that transformation is the first, creating the roadmap is the first step in that transformation. So how do we start with this? Let's create a very simple checklist. Have you identified a business goal? If not, do that first. Second, if you know your business goal, even at a very high level, it doesn't have to be fancy. Create a strategic plan, which is, I am going to do ABC, I'm not going to do PQR. That's okay. That strategic plan has to be something you very firmly believe in. And then you come back and say, great, now I have a 3-year vision of what I want to do, a 3-year plan of what I want to do. What do I accomplish in year 1, which will then serve as a stepping stone for year 2, which will then serve as a stepping stone for year 3. Have I implemented lean and quality based on the previous chart? If I have not done that, I should do it in the beginning because you don't want to automate waste because you're going to waste money. You don't want to use Industry 4.0 on waste. You're going to waste money. Have you built a customer base in the beginning? Yes? Great. And then we can talk about workforce retention plan. Please remember, Industry 4.0 is not about the tool. It's not about the technology. It's all about a culture change. It's all about your business strategy. What you're really doing is you are driving a culture in your business that says, how do I monetize data? Everybody in your business will really be singing the same song. That I know data is important. I know what my accountability in terms of data is, and how can I work with everybody else to be able to provide you that way to monetize data, whether it's on the revenue side or it's on the cost side. So in order to do this, there are some pitfalls that you really want to avoid. And I'll just walk through some of those based on my experiences. First and most important thing is an incorrect perspective. Some people wrongly think of digital transformation as, hey, I'm going to implement Microsoft project and everything should be great because we all know what to do. Or somebody will turn around and say, you know what? Hey, I know how to use an ERP system. I will spend $500,000 putting the ERP system and we should be running smoothly. Or, you know what? I love my R&D organization, so I'll give them the tools that they need and don't worry about the rest. They're creating silos. The most important thing in terms of digital transformation is you have to have a commitment from the top. You have to invest in the people because people are going to be your true asset. And a culture change has to happen. That says the most important thing that our organization is going to do is it's going to believe in the power of data and information. It's going to believe that data and information can be monetized. It's going to believe that data and information is something that's going to be with the hands of the sales and marketing team as much as it's going to be with the manufacturing and delivery teams as well. That's the culture change. Because if we don't have that culture change and people don't see the value, then That's the conversation that needs to be had. So what are some of the key things we need to keep in mind? One is you need to build a high performance team across the enterprise. Even if you're a 20 people team, if the business has 20 people, that's okay, because all the 20 people singing the same song is better than 2 singing one and 5 singing something else. And the notion of data and information should be everyone's job. Everybody should believe in that. Here is the most important thing there. Do few things, but do it better. Focus on a few things, but obsess on it. Do less, but obsess is the way I kind of framed this. The other interesting thing is bake data informed thinking into your culture. You don't make decisions randomly. You make decisions based on data. And think outside in. Put yourself in the position of the customer. Put yourself, which you probably already do anyway, but it's important to put yourself in the shoes of the customer and visualize how the customer uses the data. That way, you will know how to use your data better. And this transformation does not have to be a revolution. It can evolve. You launch something, you learn something, you refine something, you relaunch something, you learn something. So it is that iterative process of how you get to your end desired state. What's the key takeaway? The key takeaway in all of this is data and information is important. You lay out your plan. It is a journey. You have to create the roadmap. Start small. Very important to start small. Identify where you want to start. Define the capabilities that you need. Make that work. Scale in a very thoughtful, constrained, thought through way. And then build that ecosystem that's going to support you in this transformation. Key takeaway again, leverage the power of data as you go through this staged approach. So last but not the least, who do I work for and how can we help you in this revolution/evolution to get you from where you are to where you want to be? So I work for a company called CMTC, which is the California Manufacturing Technology Consulting Group. It's based in Torrance, and it is one of the 51 nodes that is what's called the Manufacturing Extension Partnership Network. I'm proud to say that California is the largest node in that network. We are a 501c3 organization, just like AWFS, and our mission in life is to help the small and medium-sized manufacturers be successful. So all of the woodworking, all of the furnishing comes in that space of manufacturing. So our goal and our mission is to do that. We don't stand alone in this. We are a network of 51 nodes. 51 because of the 50 states and Puerto Rico. Every state has a node similar to the California node, which is typically either a not-for-profit or it is something that the state or the federal government funds. It could be in a university, it could be in a not-for-profit. So the models are slightly different. But what we bring is the power of those 51 nodes, the knowledge and information that we get that can be nuanced to your local situation, whether you're in New York or you're in South Carolina or you're in the state of Washington or the great state of Michigan, or last but not the least, California. So we bring that knowledge of the network to bear and we share that knowledge with you. To give you what impact we have delivered, and this is by no means a sales job, please do not view this as a sales job, but more to show the impact we have delivered to our ecosystem. For example, we have worked with over 1,000 small and mid-sized manufacturers in California, delivering $101 million in cost savings. Helped them retain 11,000 jobs or created 11,000. It's a combination thereof. and helped companies increase their total sales by 751 million, even though we are a 501c3. We work, we partner. This is not possible doing it alone. We actually have a network of partners that we actually work through. What do we do with our clients and how do we help them grow? There are some of these services here. For example, we help them with understanding the marketplace. We help them saying, hey, your product is something that you can export globally. How do we help you with exporting services? Or, hey, you know what? You are a DoD. Your business supports the DoD. Therefore, you have to be cyber secure. We help you with cybersecurity, and so on. You get the message. The next one also talks a little bit about some of the efforts we do in continuous improvement, whether it's lean, whether it's quality, whether it's AS9100D, whether it's any other compliance that you might use, or ISO 13485 in the medical device company. It could be a whole bunch of stuff that we do. But at the end of the day, what we do in CMTC is put the customer first. The customer is the center of everything we do, and then work around what the needs of those customers or the clients are and deliver what we need to deliver. What we bring to the table is something unique that many other organizations don't. Because we are a 501c3 and we have this network that also includes the National Institute of Standards and Technology, we participate in innovation institutes that have been deployed across the nation. For example, there is a Robotics and Manufacturing Institute that's in Pittsburgh, and they have developed a lot of tools and technologies that we have access to. Those tools and technologies we can then leverage to provide solutions to you. Or, for example, there is a Smart Manufacturing Institute in California, in Los Angeles, and they are developing something called the Smart Manufacturing Platform. That Smart Manufacturing Platform can revolutionize the way you do business because they are focused on data. The same thing with the Digital Manufacturing Institute in Illinois. And we have the power to work with those innovation institutes, bring what they have to offer to you as part of our solution. So what we then do is work with our clients in what I'm going to call a 4-step approach. One, we sit with you and understand what your business goals are and work with you on developing a roadmap. Whether it's a 6-month roadmap, an 18-month roadmap, a 3-year roadmap, it has all got to be aligned. And when you start to implement that roadmap, 3 things happen. One, your businesses are going to be transformed the way you want it to be as per the roadmap. There has to be a culture and change management taking place because it's not about technology. Remember, Industry 4.0 is all about business and culture change. In addition, there is a workforce transform development that takes place because we also get grants for workforce development from the state of California as well. And the other nodes in this network do have other incentives that they get from their local state government. So what we do in this journey of implementing Industry 4.0 is work with you on a roadmap that you are comfortable with, work with you on the business transformation that you are comfortable with, show you the economic value to you before implementation so you're very familiar, manage risks, bring together the change management, and bring the workforce on board. And notice I've used the word smart manufacturing. I want to clarify that a little bit. Industry 4.0 is a German verbiage. To be different, in the US, some people use the word smart manufacturing, but it's identically the same. So our key takeaway in this slide is Industry 4.0 or smart manufacturing is a journey, never a straight line, and the power of this transformation lies in data and information capture. And please, 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 if you want to walk away with the one thing at the end of this webinar is, how do I monetize data? That is the question each one of us needs to be asking. That means you need to get the right data at the right place, in the right format, to the right people. When I do that, I know how to monetize data. When I know how to monetize data, I know what this journey looks like. Therefore, I can accomplish my business goals. There are 2 services we offer. One is there is a free If you go to the CMTC website, there is a very short assessment. And if you love to take, I would love for you to take the assessment, one, because I can come and sit with you and just talk to you for a couple of hours based upon what you have done. So at least it'll give you some knowledge and for you to start. And if you have any questions about the webinar, or if you want to have a conversation with me, I love to sit and chat with you. You have my email address, and you can always reach me through Adria as well. And that's where I'm going to stop. But I want to leave you again, repeat one thing. The power of data is what's going to take you to the next level. And you have the opportunity as the woodworking and furnishing business, not to just follow the metal machining business, but actually take steps to revolutionize the way you think about your business, both from the customer perspective in terms of neat and unique ways of monetizing that data, but also from a perspective of saying, you know what if I think of ERPs in a completely different way that's aligned to my way of thinking and use the cloud technologies to do that? So you can then become the leader in what you want to accomplish. Let me stop. I've talked a lot, and we can open this conversation with this webinar for conversations and discussion. Adria, is that okay?
Thank you so much, Shaker. That was wonderful and incredibly informative. I would like to remind you, you can post questions under the question section in your control panel, or even in the chat area. So if anyone has any questions, please post them. And just to reiterate, this session is recorded, and a link will be provided after the session, as well as a PowerPoint of Shaker's, a PDF of Shaker's PowerPoint, and the link to the SMART assessment that he referenced in his slide. So if you want to continue the conversation with Shaker, his email, he's generously shared his email, or you can reach out to me. And as Shaker mentioned, CMTC is one of 51 in the network of MEPs. So if you're not from California on this call, you do have a local MEP that can help you in the way that CMTC helps California manufacturers. So feel free to contact Shaker, and he can help you get connected with your local one or myself. So I'm not seeing any questions at this point, so we'll go ahead and wrap up. But again, I want to thank Shaker tremendously and CMTC for offering this informative webinar, and thank you all for joining us today, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everybody.